It's a pleasure to be with you tonight, and every time I have a chance to meet parents and friends, I learn more than I impart. So I'm sure that'll be the case tonight. You have a resource handout with a pathway on it. We could look at that as the central idea of mostly everything we're going to talk about tonight. And for direct parent support, you also have a handout of parent mentors that are working in local schools. That I don't think it's three-hole punch. It was a single handout. It lists all the parent mentors. And my colleague at the State Support Team 3, we're neighbors just across the street on Oak Tree Boulevard, is Terry McEntee. And Terry's the parent and family support consultant who can provide resources and information. There were some booklets I passed out for the new IEPs that are coming out. They're not out yet, but hopefully we'll have information on that soon. So, you know, Terry would be a good contact person along with me for career tech. This would be the key organizing idea, that we're all on a pathway. We're on a pathway as parents to support our sons and daughters to pursue their passions for work and for community life. We're on a pathway as parents and friends to support students to pursue productive employment and productive community life. And I'm on that pathway as a grandparent because I'm taking care of, I work half-time and I'm taking care of Brecken and Brandon half-time also. So I just realized as I work with Brecken and Brandon how much work it is to be a parent. And the days that I have them from say 7:15 to usually 4:30, 5 o'clock, I come home exhausted. So, so I have the deepest respect for what you're doing, because I'm getting a little refresher in doing that activity and loving every minute of it. So a couple of the things we'll talk about tonight is just rejuvenating yourself. Certainly as educators, to rejuvenate ourselves, to work with the stress that's present in educational settings, and you know, as parents, to constantly rejuvenate ourselves to support our sons and daughters. And I'm going to look at the idea of a pathway that it's never straight. There's curves and there's little risks. The curves are clear in how the rocks start out and then go up a bridge to hopefully would be community employment, would be community being successful in the community as a worker, or successful in another work setting. And Employment First maintains that community employment is a great goal. I've worked with students as, not students, campers, as a camp counselor with severe cerebral palsy, blindness, and were inspirational people, and their main job was to teach me how to position them to get their braces on, how to position them for dressing and toileting. And they were great at that. So whatever we do, whether it's working for money or working to manage our personal needs or to help somebody else with their personal needs, it's worthwhile work. And that pathway could represent a job that would be doing retail work, or it could represent self-help skills that empower you to connect with your caregivers and people that you're going to inspire just with managing the tasks of daily life. So a few of the resources we'll touch upon, and let me ask you so I can kind of adjust my remarks because my time is limited. How many of you have worked with Ohio Means Jobs? Great, so a number of people. And how many of you have worked with a program called VoCFit, V-O-C-F-I-T, vocfit.com? Okay, that's a new program, and I believe Dr. Hale uses a similar model in matching student skills with job requirements. But the goal of VocaFit, or Ohio Means Jobs, would be to make that transition from secondary school to post-secondary school so that there is no loss or no lag time, and the skills that you've developed in one setting can be transferred quickly to another setting without doing a lot of reassessment. And I think VocaFit is a model that uses that pathway. The pathway could be looked at as the skills for a job. And that job could be doing some manufacturing, some light production, could be washing dishes, it could be stocking in retail. So the pathway, each stone would define a skill for that particular job, and then you would say, where is the worker on that pathway? And you would actually have a printout that says green is skills are in great shape. Yellow is skills that maybe need some intervention, and then orange is, well, these skills are particularly challenging, and red is these skills don't fit too well. And then a job developer could say to an OOD counselor, well, students mastered these skills in trial work settings, and the job coach can focus on these specific skills, or we could do an adjustment to the job responsibilities by engaging the employer and saying, what would be your preferences with those green areas, and if we worked on the yellows, be a productive employment setting. And there's, the VocaFit itself would be a presentation, but it uses that pathway again of the student being on a particular stone regarding to what you need to do for a particular job. And the reason I mentioned it is I'm hoping that people working in high schools can use the VocaFit for part of their career assessment, and then have the OOD counselor directly on that team to focus their efforts on picking up where the young man or woman is. Okay. Now, having been, just privileged to work in a number of IEP meetings with students that I would seek to place in employment, I know time is limited, and it's important to get everyone on the same page to have productive results. Also, there is a need for parent leadership to empower the team to work on a set of factors that will bring the quickest results and focus services. So I'm going to suggest that if you're using something like VocaFit, or you're using something from Ohio Means Jobs or Naviance for people, you're going to get a detailed list of job skills. But with the idea, and using this matrix, which is the second part of your handout, there's really 6 factors that determine whether a student is going to be a good fit for a particular job. And the first factor is safety. When Paul O'Neill came to Alcoa Aluminum and the company was near bankruptcy and there was a lot of disagreement about what the union was doing and what management was doing and what their strategy was, focused on safety and made safety job one. And of course, as people who love their sons and daughters and grandchildren, safety is job one. So in a work situation, a unifying factor in looking at whether it's a community activity or a work situation is safety present? And then a high level of safety, this could start in kindergarten. I'm doing it with my granddaughter crossing streets. A high level of safety would be listed as high level in the matrix. Safely works with materials and processes in school, career technical education labs, and/or community work sites. And given that safety is the first thing you teach. What level of supervision do you need to maintain that safety? Whether it's in an amusement park, or at Walmart, or in a Giant Eagle parking lot, doing carts. How much supervision do you need from a job coach or someone who's going to ensure that you know the safety components of whatever environment you're in? The third thing is, where can you be goal directed? And this is where your preferences, interests, needs, and strengths come into being. And I think the main point I could make this evening is that goal directedness should be something that flows because you like to do it. And that's where career assessment comes in. In one of the handouts, I have just a few brief pages from a Cuyahoga Valley Career Center assessment, but a key point of assessment and all of the observations that take place over a period of time are, what environment can you be goal directed in? Do you need to physically move? Do you need fine motor coordination? Do you need alertness? Do you need customer interaction? So what work settings would you be goal directed in? And then if you're going to work for a long period of time, hopefully the rest of your life, what's your endurance for a particular goal? And that's where we're going to tie in a few things about building endurance and building focus. And then after you've established that, if you're a person, say with autism, then you need to be belonging. You need to feel that sense of belonging. So that would be the fifth factor, and that would be teamwork or a social environment. And adjusting to that social environment so that you can be connected with people. You can come home at the end of the day feeling you have some friends or people you enjoy being with. And that really sustains you because it helps you push yourself, get self-discipline, because you're part of a team. And then the sixth factor, and probably the most important, is, can you assume responsibility to make choices when things don't go right? Can you figure out who to ask for help, or what strategy to use to resolve a problem? And again, if you have a very specific task analysis of all the job skills through Ohio Means Jobs or VocaFit, then you'll have those detailed skills to determine where you would need to practice self-direction. Hopefully that would be a way that you could channel some of the efforts of the IEP team. And I found in my career that parents are the leaders in bringing a job from application to making it work, because you have the motivation to get to the job with your son or daughter, and then after a day of work to debrief and see how things went. And then of course transportation is part of that also. So I think those six factors are constantly being developed through your parenting. And of course, you're doing that in many different situations. And we're going to come back to VocaFit and Ohio Means Jobs in a little bit. But I'd like to jump ahead to something called the Calm Classroom. And the Calm Classroom is a program that started in Chicago, and it basically says we all deal with a lot of stress. How many of you are dealing with stress as parents and caregivers? Educators? Yeah, not even a little bit. And the idea is that as we sit here after a busy day, you have all sorts of impulses that are filtering through your subconscious, through your amygdala, into your conscious. And those impulses could be, gee, did I get to the bank today? Did I make that deposit? Did I pay that bill? Did I meet that deadline for the field trip? Did I schedule that doctor's appointment? Will I have enough time to stop at the grocery store before I go home? And you find yourself in a situation where there's so many things that are filtering up in your conscience that it's hard to be present in the moment and saying, gee, life is good. I've had a good day, and I've got some plans to make for tomorrow. So the Calm Classroom, it started in Chicago. It's in over a third of the Chicago schools. It's in all of the Detroit public schools. It's growing in California. And they take brief exercises that involve stretching, breathing, and simple movements. Starts with preschool, goes all the way up through high school, and they're finding that achievement is increasing, students are more focused, discipline problems are going down, and for schools that are using a Tier 1 intervention like PBIS, it's a strategy to help students center and calm down. And there's different ways of looking at it. It's strictly a physiological process that helps your brain manage the impulses that are below subconscious and be mindful in the present about what you can control. Because the past is history, the future is a mystery. Right now, all we have is the here and now, which is why they call it a present. It's a gift. So that's what meditation does. Sometimes people will think that it's a spiritual practice. It can be if you take it to that level, but it's strictly a physiological practice, like learning to ride a bike comfortably and calmly. And like learning to ride a bike, you're first a little wobbly at it, and as you do it and practice it, it calms down. It helps you calm down. So we're going to come back to that in just a minute. I'm not going to take the time to show a lot of the Calm Classroom, but there's, in your resource handouts, I have that focus on business and industry. So I looked at a couple business and industry examples of the role of meditation. And this one is from American Association of Individual Investors. And basically what it says is that people who are making decisions with the press of a button to move hundreds of thousands of dollars have a lot of stress. And many times act impulsively. And with disastrous results. So some of the big investment houses have actually set up meditation programs so people think about, well, gee, should I react to this, or is there a plan? And then for parents and teachers, their idea is when you listen to a CEO talk, listening with that inner voice, does the person have anxiety? Does the student feel upset? And that helps us as parents and teachers to focus on dealing with that feeling of upsettedness and getting that person to center. And as was shared, for students who act impulsively, and really that could be all of teenhood, if you're working with teenagers, it's to get the, gee, I really should look carefully before I make that left turn. Now, it would be a good idea to back off on the pedal and keep the car at the speed limit. So all those things that are done impulsively, many times with accidents, or especially in the workplace, the meditation helps us center. And the Calm Classroom in the website, there's a page in the handout with all the websites listed, and I will make this available on our drive. So if you want these links hot, I will share a link with you through email that you can share out. So the role of meditation is crucial in a teacher maintaining a calm in your classroom. For a student, when something is difficult, it's keeping that calmness. Just out of curiosity, how many of you meditate? Wow, that's great. So we have a number. We have a number of people. And I...
Just go to bed.
Yeah. So I find, you know, on the days that I know I'm going to have Brecken and Brandon for 8 hours or sometimes 9, if I meditate in the morning, I'm much calmer, and then I do my little 20 minutes of physical exercises, so I tone up because I know I'm going to be carrying one with one hand and, you know, chasing the other one around. So and the key to it is, and I didn't put this in, but I'd like to mention it. In all of our work with young people, habits are so critical. So if you do one good thing right, chances are, if a few things go wrong, you have that habit of expecting, I can do things, and you can take a setback with the idea that you've done something right. So, as part of my educational career, I'd always try to look for what does a student do well that I could say, well, gee, you know, you really had those tables all very clean today. You do a great job with that. Although the chairs were not put away properly, or there was something to work on. If you can do one good thing right, then chances are that when the number of things aren't right, then you can say, well, at least something was good today. And I did a little research on that, and I find out that that's part of Navy SEAL training. That the first thing Navy SEALs have to do in training is make their bed. So if the day is a lousy day, when you come back at the end of the day, at least you come back to a made bed. But the habit is that you start off the day doing one good thing right, which could be meditating or going over what you're going to have to do for your job, and that leads to another thing and another thing and another thing. So you're on a productive cycle, and you get things, you feel like you have some control.